got to be honest, I've taken a little bit of a while to get to this one. I've listened to this quite a lot recently, and yeah, it's just been a bit of a hard one to sit down and properly review. And that's because I don't really like it. No, I'm just kidding. Of course I like it. Of course I like it. I had you for a second there. Maybe I didn't, but I had you. Jason Isbell and the 400 Unit have been dropping albums for quite a few years now. Of course, the Nashville Sound is an album that got a lot of attention at the time from country critics and obviously reviewers that were just like, you know, a fan of Jason Isbell's previous stuff, because he's been around for quite a long time. The Drive-By Truckers, and then his solo stuff in like the late 2000s, mid 2010s is just like ridiculously good. By the way, I've already done a video on Jason Isbell's Southeastern before, which is one of my favorite albums ever of any genre. If you've never listened to that, please listen to it. So of course, this transition into the 400 Unit has been worthwhile too. Reunions was really good. I remember reviewing that in the lockdown days. It's a nice little flashback to listening to tracks from that album when, you know, you couldn't really do anything. So weird, man. So weird. We have these connections to these albums during these time periods, and they stick with you and they will never leave you. I just feel like they'll never leave me, you know? And echoing what everyone else is already saying, I haven't watched any official reviews or anything, but I know that people are absolutely loving this, and it is basically becoming his most, or their most, critically acclaimed album to date. I don't know if it's going to top Southeastern. I don't think it has for me, but it is bloody good. Like, I was just so blown away by the writing on this album, and I think that's where the draw is for a lot of people. Just listening to the lyrics, listening to the writing from Jason is just honestly awe-inspiring at times. The way he touches on topics and the way he words things is truly magnificent. And I think one of the reasons why I was struggling to write down a review and, you know, sit down and sort one out was just because I think talking about the way he talks about things just doesn't do it justice, you know? And it's the exact same for previous stuff from Jason's work. It's just truly on another level, and his mind and the way he views things is so powerful and so wise, and I just love that in a musician, if they just have an approach to writing that you don't really ever think about, you know? I'm thinking of someone like a Fiona Apple, where the writing is just so strong that you've never really heard anything like it before, and I think Jason does a similar thing, just about different topics. I mean, the opening track is just brilliant, man, from the writing perspective. Of course, this idea of being in a relationship with somebody who has depression, and it's a track that really resonates, you know, like this idea of being on the other side of it and seeing that person just kind of defeating themselves and wishing their own death in it is what basically how Jason words it. It is truly such an impactful song, and the line as well that I wrote down where you know, he says like he wants to hold her till it's over. This idea of just wanting to be able to protect her, and it's such a simple line, but the beauty of it and the power in the way he sings it, that's one of the best things I've always liked about Jason. Really sets him apart from others as well. I mean, he's not the only one to do it, but just the power, the emotion, the raw, the earnestness with how he delivers things, how humble he sounds as well. Even when he's critiquing himself, you know, he has this approach to just sound really relatable and sound really genuine in the way he's saying it as well. I mean, I didn't want to immediately talk about White Beretta because I do think this is a fantastic track as well, but I do feel like it segues nicely into this because obviously he is critiquing himself pretty hard, his past self on this song. And again, you know, the writing is just so strong on this track. And I just didn't know, but that ain't no excuse, you know, talking about how young he was, being kind of surrounded by conflicting opinions in his younger days, and just not really knowing always what the right thing to do was. And the fact that you're young and you make stupid mistakes and you make stupid errors, but ultimately you haven't matured yet. And that still isn't necessarily always an excuse to make such a big mistake in what he's talking about on this track. So yeah, I like the way he's able to just reflect on things. And that was another thing that I liked about his music initially. He's just so reflective. He's just so descriptive and evaluates almost everything that's ever happened in his life. I mean, god damn, his brain just must run at like 1,000,000 miles per hour with the thoughts he comes out with, seriously, because it just seems like he's constantly reflecting on the past and constantly thinking of how he could have done better or how he could be better. And I just think that's such a beautiful thing in anyone's music and very hard to find. Reflecting on the past relationship on the track King of Oklahoma, where he's talking about some relationship where everything just used to be so perfect, everything just used to be so amazing. He felt like a king with the way this woman loved him and things. It sounds beautiful, but of course there's a negative spin on it, as you'd expect from Jason as well. And yeah, I like this track as well because it reminds me of the way he's writing on the track Different Days, you know, the song where he's talking about the past and reflecting on that and how things are just so different now. And of course here he's doing the exact same thing. Save the World as well, really like the line as well, where he says, swear you'll save the world and when I lose my grip. Yeah, again, just quite a powerful line. He kind of just pours himself into other people in quite a beautiful way with the way he writes. It's just, again, so awe-inspiring to me. And of course, even without all this, you've got the music on this album, which is just really, really well done. I really like Strawberry Woman. This track, man, is just so delicate and so soft. And I think when he slows things down and approaches tracks like this, he has a real knack for just a beautiful song, and this is a great moment for me. And then of course you've got like the rockier moments and the guitars that come through as well. So many tracks that have like solos on this album that really sound raw and rugged. The final track as well, which I think in an interview he tried describing as like post southern rock or something, where he's trying to like take the southern rock approach and just extend it out a little bit more, and yeah, really bring together a beefy song that's like 7 minutes long. I will say it didn't feel like the 7 minutes were fully earned. I do think they probably could have done a little bit more with this track in the musical sense of things, but I do like it. I just think the fact that it is long, you could have gotten more. You could have gotten more out of it and maybe pushed some of the instrumentation a little bit further to make it really feel like, you know, oh, this is post southern rock, right? The shuffling instrumental on If You Insist as well. Just really, really like the tones and the shifts and the diversions that this album takes. You do get those rockier moments. You also get those softer moments too. And I think he pulls it off all so well. I've got to talk about When We Were Close, so a loss of a friend here and the drug addiction that he once had. Now this is a really, really interesting story, and it just goes to show that Jason has so much in his mind and so many stories to tell, because this is a track that, you know, so far into his career you think he would have probably written by now, but he just still seems to find a way to touch on topics in such an interesting way. And this idea as well of, like, you know, having someone who was close to him, them going through similar things, but that person being the one that dies and you end up being the one that survives. And the way he writes the lyrics on this track, man, and this is what I'm saying, like, no reviewer is going to be able to talk about this, man. Like, come on, this guy is too good. I shouldn't be telling you about these songs. You should just be hearing them and knowing how bloody good they are. But yeah, the questions he keeps asking is, why haven't I? You know, why wasn't I? Like, why wasn't it me? And it's just a continuation of just these extra questions he keeps throwing out there to really just hammer in the point of, you know, the guilt that he's feeling. And yeah, it's a really, really stunning approach to the song. And goddamn, just again, like, the writing, I just forever am blown away by this man and the way he writes. Seriously, I have been for so many years now, and it continues to this day. And so far into the career, Jason is still finding ways to blow me away with the writing. It is just exceptionally good. And I think that's pretty much as I can say. I could talk about every individual track, but I think that would just probably hammer down the point of me saying, you know what, I'm not going to be able to talk about these tracks as well as the way Jason conveys these topics. It's so good. It really is good. I think it runs on a little bit too long, But I don't know, maybe that'll be something I look back on by the end of the year and think, why did I say that in the review? Because it's actually really grown on me. But at this moment in time, where I'm at right now, I am going to go an 8 out of 10. I do think this is very, very good. I think musically it's super strong. I think lyrically it's gifted. It is lyrically gifted, seriously. But yeah, I just think by the end you're getting some similar sounding tracks. And it's an hour and 1 minute, so it's not like you're sitting in for 40 minutes here. It's pretty lengthy, but it is fantastic. It is a great album and truly one of the best of 2023 so far, without a doubt. And thank you for watching as always. Hopefully I managed to put this into words very well for you as a viewer. If you've never heard of Jason Isbell and the 400 unit before, well, let's hope you are going to check them out now. And if you have already heard this, would love to see your thoughts in the comments. Tell me why this album is great for you. If you don't like it or whatever, you gotta like it though. You gotta like it. Please tell me why. Anyway, have a good day. Check out my Patreon as well. Subscribe, like, everything, all that. Have a good day. Goodbye.